Welcome to another episode of the Speaking Star series on Dear Paarijaat. Today we are honored to have Cathy Nesbitt as speaker, laughter wellness advocate, warm advocate, ecopreneur, and health and wellness enthusiast. Cathy is the proud recipient of the 2022 Women of Inspiration Advocate and Catalyst for Change Award. She is the founder of Cathy's Crawly Composters, an environmentally driven warm composting business dedicated to raising awareness about sustainable practices and providing solutions for organic waste management. So now, let's continue to our chat.
So, greetings, ma'am. Myself, Mayank, the host and the producer of Dear Paarijaat podcast show. Today, we have Cathy Nesbitt here. She is a speaker and laughter analyst and as well as warm advocate. She was 2022 Women of Inspiration Advocate and Catalyst for Change Award winner. Today, I'm hosting you. First of all, it's a very pleasurable moment for me as well to host such insightful person for us. And before starting, I would like to mention that I am aiming currently and practicing to develop a startup in this particular field where you're currently working. Uh, it would be based on organic farming and vermicomposting model here in India, where I would like to lead this particular revolution on the ground level. So most of our conversation today would be revolving around that particular topic. So here I would bring my first question to you so that we can proceed with the meeting. So first of all, tell me about what inspired you to start Cathy's Crawly Composters and how has the journey been since its inception?
Thank you. Yes, I'm excited to be here. Thank you for the opportunity to share my passion for these beautiful creatures. So I'm located in Canada, just north of Toronto. And 2002, our landfill closed. And although Canada's a pretty large country, second largest in the world, we couldn't find a place to site a new landfill. And we started to export our garbage to the United States. 1,000 trucks a week made the trip to the US. And I had a solution. This is indoor composting with worms. So I set about to start my business without realizing that people maybe have a fear of worms or they have an idea about these creatures. They're supposed to be outside, not inside. So the journey has been quite interesting, but I'm still here 22 years in.
Definitely. How was your feeling or how did you feel connected with the worms and what kind of relationship do you feel with them?
When I was the first time I was introduced to worms, like when we're introduced to anything new, it may be a little bit awkward the first time when it's a new concept. So the idea of worms in the house was foreign for me too. I tried it in 1993 was my first introduction, and then I was ready to welcome these worms. When I started to research the worms, I learned about these beautiful creatures. They have 5 hearts each. They're the original alchemists. They turn garbage, what we call garbage, into black gold, more nutrient-rich soil for organic farming so we can grow. So our food is more nutrient rich without chemicals. So I set forth, and I believe that worms are going to play an ever increasing role in waste management, soil production, and food security. 3 beautiful streams, but I started my business for waste management. I didn't think about the other 2 streams, like about the soil or the food security until I was in it. And I realized that gardeners, they wanted what I had. They wanted the organic fertilizer, but they didn't want to do the process. If that makes sense, people might not have wanted to have the worms, but they definitely wanted to have the fertilizer.
Definitely. It's one of the major issue right now evolving in all over the world right now.
It's a problem. In North America, we have destroyed the soil. We do monocropping, so we grow corn, wheat, and soy, acres and acres of the same crop. That's not how nature intended. We need the biodiversity, we need the different crops. And so this is a way for us to return the nutrients back to the soil so we don't have to put so many chemicals. Our soil now, I laugh because otherwise I'd be crying in the corner. This is a serious topic. a serious topic that is very simple. It's a simple solution. We just need to change our minds so that we can be open to these beautiful creatures that have been waiting to serve us. They've been waiting to help us, you know, just literally under our feet waiting. Now we just need to look there. And so I'm excited to learn about your project as well.
Yeah, definitely. Here in India, I would say since the Green Revolution, when we started using fertilizers and pesticide on a very large scale, it somehow lead to the land degradation and loss of fertility all over the country. And there are many health issues which we are facing currently in all over the world, and including malnutrition being the major problem, which can be solved only if we turn towards organic farming. But how can we do organic farming when we don't have organic fertilizers? The main issue arises here. Yeah.
That's it. It starts with the soil. It starts with the worms, and the worms are the soil makers. So composting is great. People say, what's the difference between compost and worm compost? Compost is a wonderful product. Vermicompost or worm compost is more processed by nature. So each little casting, worm poo, is like a time release capsule. So the earth takes from it as it needs it. And it binds up it binds up some of the heavy metals, some of the materials that may be harmful to the plants. They get bound up and they're not accessible for the plants to take up. It's magic, you know, the nature, it gave us everything that we need. We have everything we need here. You know, chemical engineers are super smart and they're doing a great job. But we need to really look back to the simple ways, to the way nature wanted us to do it.
Yeah, so I would like to dive more deeper into this particular worm aspect. As I recently researched about it a lot, so I believe that Icenia fertida, that is an Australian variety of the worms. Is it really necessary to have one specific variety for vermicomposting, or we can like use any kind of worms for the vermicomposting?
Great question. Thank you. Good one. There are thousands of species of worms, thousands that have been identified. Only 4 have been identified as suitable for vermicomposting. We're looking for surface dwellers. So all the worms play a role, and the earthworms are really great. We're looking for ones that will live in a container. So they're not free range worms, worms in your house roaming around. So they're in a container and they're surface dwellers. So that's what we're looking for. And we're looking for worms they consume carbon and nitrogen. The worms that live outside, they're the plows of the soil. So they're also doing a great job. They don't eat nitrogen, so they wouldn't eat our food scraps. They would eat, say, the paper or the brown leaves, the straw. They would eat those kind of materials. They're not going to live in a container because they're the tunnelers, they're the plows. So they're going below the frost line. I guess you don't have a frost line in India. But for in North America, so they live below the frost line and come up at night to bring their food into their burrow. Also a beautiful worm, but they wouldn't be very happy in a container.
Definitely. So, would you like to mention some misconceptions about worm and like how do you deal with them? If you can tell us a little.
Yeah, so you know, we believe that worms are outdoor creatures. So first of all, overcoming the idea of bringing them in the house. People think it's going to smell because we're adding rotting food in. They think, oh, it's going to smell, but it's aerobic process, meaning with oxygen. The worms breathe, they breathe oxygen like we do. So if your worm bin ever smells, it's like it smells bad. It's a built-in mechanism that oxygen has now been converted into methane or gas. We can't breathe gas, neither can the worms. So that's, first of all, people think it's going to smell. People think it will have all kinds of bugs like fruit flies and all these other critters. There are a lot of critters in there. There's all sorts of microorganisms, but we can't see them because they're micro.
Definitely.
Right? So we need these organisms. It's a whole ecosystem. It's so beautiful. Once we change our mind and be open to the concept. of these creatures doing this work. They've been waiting millions of years to help us. Now we just need to be a willing recipient of these creatures. And I believe my role is to raise awareness. I have a ton of energy and a passion for these creatures. I believe I'm divinely guided, and this mission was given to me, but because we needed to know, and we needed for people to understand why these creatures are important. So so I really I'm grateful for the opportunity to share here my passion. I do a lot of networking, so people are like, "Wow, oh, that's so great! Look at you, you're so funny." And my energy is big, and it doesn't matter. It matters, but it kind of doesn't matter what people say. It's how you make people feel. I make people feel good. Um, but when they say, "Oh, this is really great idea," what do I do in the winter with the worms? In Canada, right? We have the cold
Yeah,
weather,
I can
so
understand that.
they.
Yeah, definitely.
Right. So they said, what do I do in the winter? They didn't hear the part that they're indoor year round, because maybe in the summer it's too hot, or in the winter it's too cold. So the worms don't like the temperature change. They want it consistent. So if we're comfortable, they're comfortable.
So, is there a thing like due to the not unable to adapt to the atmosphere, do they really die in that process particularly, or do we really need to replenish the variety or the our worms every year?
Oh, no. Problem with my business model. So for people listening, if they want to have a worm business, sell the compost and not the worms. The worms are the workers. So the worms breed more than rabbits. People talk about think something breeding like rabbits. Rabbits are cute and fuzzy, so that's why we can use that as a measure. Worms breed more than rabbits, and again, they're a food source for a lot of creatures. They're pure protein. So the worms create a cocoon, and they're hermaphrodites, meaning male and female. Still takes two worms to reproduce, and then once they've mated, they both create a cocoon. Up to 20 babies in each egg, 5 or 6 is average. So it's exponential. I mean, the
Really
rate of
multiplies
growth,
a lot, yeah.
right? It's a lot of worms that you're creating. So under ideal conditions, your worms are going to double in number in 3 to 5 months. It's people will say a month or whatever. No, they're not it's a process. So we're building the soil, we're building the system, and if we keep the worms happy and um, growing, there's no need to replenish them.
Do we
There's
really
no
provide
need.
specific worm food for them, like any kind
No,
of?
you don't need special food. I say whatever you have, whatever kind of scraps you have. I know depending where you are in the world, in North America, we're very wasteful. So we have lots of scraps that we can turn into it's a resource.
Like we are
We
working here
ship.
on the cow dung model, like including the cow dung and all the organic like vegetable peels and all. We'll utilize it and the vermicompost that utilize the worms to eat that particular thing. So it will also have the benefits of the cow dung that will make the cow dung also the compost and the worms benefits it.
Absolutely, yes. The cow dung is such a beautiful. I know it's used for a lot of different like building materials, and it's used for a lot. It's a wonderful food for the worms. And what happens when you feed manure like a cow dung or any kind of the vegetarian animals, other than people, right? Except Indians.
Yeah.
Right, when we feed the dung from those animals is the perfect food, right? It's a process. All these animals are creating food for another layer. Even the worms in a worm bin are the top predators, but there's all those other springtails and mites and all these bacteria, which sounds bad. It isn't bad. And so they're eating and then they're pooping. So then the worms are coming along and they're eating their poop. So the worms are the cleanup crew, and they convert it, and then they make material safer for handling. And it's non-toxic, so we can spread the worm compost around, or the manure, the composted manure around, and it's not harmful. Raw manure has pathogens, and it can cause trouble if we don't handle it properly.
I believe that when we utilize this vermicomposting model along with manure, it multiplies the effect of that manure which we use like utilizes in that process. So definitely that's a good process. And I would like to have a particular doubt about this situation that when we shift from a chemical used land, a land where a lot of chemical was used, now when we shift to organic matters and when we utilize vermicomposting, how long does it take to multiply or regain its again that productivity in it?
Oh, that's a great question. So it depends. If you're using manures, it's one thing because it's kind of easy. It's accessible. You have lots of, it's an endless supply. I think cows create something like 66 pounds of dung per day. So it's substantial resource that we can utilize for creating more soil. But the worms will reduce the volume by about 80%. So they're reducing what is produced, but making it more compact, if that makes sense. So it's more. So that's a challenging question to say definitively. If you put this much, you get this much. It depends on a lot of factors. If we're using food scraps, it really depends on what you're putting in. Tomatoes and lettuce and your leafy greens will break down faster than your root vegetables, carrots and turnip and potatoes.
So currently, are there any lab tests available to analyze this particular situation? Like how much should be actually applied for the land animal as well? Or is it really harmful to apply more than required?
Oh, that's a great question. Cornell University has great statistics. They've done extensive research on rates of application for vermicompost. So I don't have those because my focus is for everybody to get worms. Everybody have worms so they can manage their scraps. So I kind of am using a different model. But yes, it's a waste to put too much on. It's a waste. And you can burn your plants. If we start our seedlings in pure vermicompost, we're going to get couch potato plants. The plants are going to have a weak stem because the food is right there. The roots don't have to work very hard. So what we want is when we put our seed in the soil, we want just a little bit of food there and then some soil. So the roots have to dig. So they're like, oh, where's the food? And they're digging and digging. And then you get nice strong roots. Then you get a nice strong stem, and the plant can hold its head up. If you have too much food in there and it's too rich, you're like, oh, I'm going to give them, these seeds are going to have all this beautiful black gold. Yeah, right. With caution, if we have too much, we're gonna create weak plants.
That would be a terrible situation for the plant as well.
Yes, a short life.
Definitely. So thinking about you have less time right now. So let's conclude with your particular advice for the people right now. We'll have this another meeting anytime next time.
Thank you. Yes. I would just say be open to the possibility of using worms and nature for our benefit. It's a collaboration with nature. That's what we're meant to do, to have a symbiotic relationship, us and nature. And I know in India, this more than we do in North America. We're very disconnected over here. We have a lot farther, we have a longer way to go because we just put it in a truck and ship it away. I think if everybody was to, even if you're not getting worms, if that's too far away for right now, start a composting pile. Or if you know somebody that has worms and they're using them for composting, the more you put in, the more you get out, the better your garden grows and the more natural your food is.
Yes, the network in India is right now growing. Like I know people some far near around me who are realizing this importance of vermicomposting and organic farming. So yeah, we are developing a network currently, and in the next 3 to 4 years, I'm also heading on to lead this project currently. So
I love that. I wish you much success. And if I can help you in any way,
yeah, I would
please
really love
stay
to
in
be
touch.
connected with you time to time for solving all my doubts and to learn this particular process deeply, because I believe you like a mentor to me when I read your articles or when I read about you, the works you do. You really do a great work. First of all, I would like to say, very few people are
Thank you.
aware of the biodiversity who loves the biodiversity, and you are one who creating a change. So thank you for today. We'll soon connect
Thank you.
next time for it. Yeah. I would really love to talk more about it in detail, and we'll discuss a lot more things next time. Thank you, ma'am.
I love it. Yes, please have me back. Thank you so much. I
Thank you,
appreciate the
ma'am.
opportunity. Okay.
Nice to meet
Bye-bye.
you. Bye.
Thank you.
As we conclude today's insightful conversation with her, we are inspired by her passion for environmental sustainability and her innovative approach to waste management through warm composting. Cathy's dedication to raising awareness and encouraging sustainable practices serves as a beacon of hope for a greener future. We are grateful for the valuable insights she shared with us today and look forward to seeing the positive impact of her work continue to grow. Thank you, Cathy, for joining us on Dear Paarijaat's Speaking Star series. So now, my dear audience, let's unite to promote organic farming and sustainable methods. Share your story or post with a link to Cathy Nesbitt's inspiring episode on Dear Paarijaat using hashtag #GreenWorld for a shout out on upcoming episodes and social media platforms. Till then, take care, stay safe, stay green.